For 2 centuries the galaxy buzzed with life, a chaotic symphony of trade, diplomacy, and war. But on this day, silence fell. Every screen, every terminal across thousands of star systems lit up with a single chilling message. Unknown signal detected in the Orion Rift. In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from 10 alien races gathered, their voices a low thunder of concern. The great powers were all there. The militaristic Zorath Dominion, the shadowy Krell Syndicate, the neutral Zynar Empire. They all came to witness the impossible. No one dared speak the name, but one word echoed in every mind: Earth. 200 years ago, the humans vanished. They were a young, brash race, newcomers to the galactic stage who disappeared shortly after the disastrous Human-Zorath War. No ships, no transmissions, just silence. Some whispered they destroyed themselves. The Zorath boasted they had wiped them out. The truth was lost to time. But now, something had awakened in the dark void of the Orion Rift. Admiral Korath, the supreme commander of the Zorath fleet, leaned forward, his golden eyes narrowing. "Show us the signal," he growled. A hologram flickered to life, displaying streams of bizarre, shifting code. "It's encrypted," a Zynar technician reported, his voice trembling slightly. "Ancient Terran protocol. Our systems can't crack it." "Impossible," Korath hissed. "The Terrans are extinct." Before the debate could ignite, the hologram changed. The code vanished and a deep, calm voice echoed through the chamber, a voice unheard for 2 centuries. "This is the Terran supercarrier Eclipse." The room froze. Hearts stopped. A delegate whispered, "Terran? But that's—" "Continue transmission," Korath barked. The voice spoke again, its tone glacial and unwavering. "We come not for war. We come because you forgot who we are." And then, as quickly as it came, the transmission ended. Panic erupted across the galaxy. Fleets scrambled. The Zorath Dominion dispatched hundreds of warships to the Orion Rift. The Krell Syndicate sent their elite interceptors. Even the cautious Zynar Empire deployed scout vessels. Everyone needed to know what had returned from the silence. For days, the fleet searched the rift, finding nothing but empty space. No planets, no stations, just a faint, low hum in the void. And then, it began. Sensors across every ship screamed in unison. A massive, impossible energy spike. The space before them shimmered, distorting like a heat haze. Piece by piece, a shadow emerged from the blackness. It solidified into a shape, then a ship. Dark, silent, and larger than any fleet gathered there. It was a supercarrier, but a class of vessel none had ever seen. Its hull was black as obsidian, forged from an unknown alloy that seemed to devour the light. It stretched for kilometers, a city-sized behemoth of towers and hangars glowing with a faint, eerie blue. The alien crews stared, paralyzed by awe and fear. "By the stars," a Krell captain whispered. "It's the size of a city." The communication channel crackled open. That same calm Terran voice returned. "To those who remember the war, stand down. We are not your enemy. But do not test our peace." Admiral Korath let out a harsh laugh. "Peace? You dare speak of peace after what your kind did?" He turned to his tactical officer. "Target the unknown vessel. Prepare to fire." Thousands of alien ships locked their weapons onto the black supercarrier. The voice came one last time, colder than the void itself. "Stand down." The admiral ignored it. "Fire." But the order never completed. In that instant, every weapon system went dark. Every targeting display flashed red. Offline. A silent, brilliant pulse of energy rippled through space, washing over the assembled fleets. The supercarrier had unleashed an electromagnetic shockwave powerful enough to disable every ship within light seconds. One by one, the alien captains understood their catastrophic mistake. Then the supercarrier moved. Not with aggression, but with a steady, unstoppable momentum. It drifted through their frozen, powerless fleets, like a dark god passing judgment on insects. Its engines were silent. Its sheer presence made the stars themselves seem to dim. From his flagship bridge, Admiral Korath stared, speechless. What power? What are they? He whispered. His second-in-command answered, his voice thick with terror. They call themselves Terrans, Admiral. The humans have returned. The colossal vessel passed them by without firing a single shot. But as it vanished back into the rift, every captain, every soldier knew a terrible truth. Their weapons, their empires, their power meant nothing. Back in the Galactic Council Hall, chaos reigned. How is this possible? One delegate shouted. No one builds such ships in secret, cried another. The humans were nothing. But the ancient Xenar elder, ever calm, looked out toward the stars of the Orion arm. Nothing, he murmured, becomes something when silence hides strength. He turned to the frantic council. Mark my words. The Terrans did not return to ask. They returned to remind. In the darkness of space, a faint blue glow marked where the Supercarrier had been, a trail of light fading into infinity, its final message replayed through the galaxy like a ghostly echo. This is the Terran Supercarrier Eclipse. Stand by or stand down. And for the first time in 200 years, the galaxy was afraid of Earth again. For weeks after the eclipse appeared, the galaxy was silent. Every transmission, every whisper spoke of the same thing. The humans were back. But no one knew how. In the Galactic Council's archives, the oldest records about Earth were small, almost an afterthought. A young species from a little blue planet. No colonies, no great fleets. Just dreamers, fighters, and survivors. So how did a bunch of dreamers build a ship that could shut down entire fleets with a single pulse? Far away, deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, something stirred. Kilometers under the frozen rock, hidden in a vast hollow chamber, burned the red glow of Earth's true heart, Project Eclipse. It all began 180 years ago, after the last war. When alien armadas burned our cities and boiled our oceans, humanity finally understood the truth. We could not win with numbers. So we disappeared. The world went silent, not because we were destroyed, but because we chose to vanish. Beneath the ground, the survivors built in secret. Nations that had fought for centuries united for the first time in history, not out of peace but out of a shared burning fear. The United Terran Command was born. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists worked without sunlight, building something no alien could ever imagine. Their mission was simple. Create the weapon that ends wars, not starts them. In a dark control room, Admiral Orion Holt, commander of the Eclipse, stood before the viewing glass. The supercarrier's massive engines pulsed like the heart of a sleeping giant. Status of the mirror shield? He asked, his voice calm and steady. Fully operational, sir, his lieutenant replied. No scan can see us. To them, we're ghosts. Holt nodded slowly. That's what we were meant to be. Ghosts. Until they forgot to fear us. He turned to the central screen, which showed dozens of worlds across the Milky Way, many of them enslaved by ruthless alien empires. 200 years ago, they called us weak, he said quietly. Now they will see what silence has built. In the far reaches of the galaxy, chaos was spreading. The Zorath Dominion scrambled its warships, terrified. The Krell Syndicate broadcast frantic warnings. Some tried to dismiss the eclipse as a myth, a scary story told to frighten children. But not everyone feared it. In the shadows, small alien colonies, those crushed under the heel of the empires, began to hope. They shared secret messages in old Terran code. The humans have returned. Project Dawn is real. The idea spread like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, slaves and rebels spoke one name with faith: Earth. Meanwhile, in the Orion Rift, the eclipse floated in silent darkness. Its hull reflected no light, no heat, not even time itself. It was the ghost of a world that refused to die. Inside, the command room buzzed with quiet power. A voice came through the comms. Admiral Holt, the Council demands communication. They want proof that the Terrans exist. Holt smiled faintly. Let them want. He stared at the hologram of Earth, blue, fragile, and glowing in the black. They will see us when the time is right. On the other side of the galaxy, in the great Zorath war chambers, panic was absolute. Their High Chancellor slammed his clawed hand on the table. They were supposed to be extinct. How did they build such a thing without our sensors detecting it? His science minister trembled. Sir, the carrier's energy readings are beyond anything in our records. We suspect a sun core reactor. The Chancellor froze. Impossible. That would require a star to power it. Yes, the minister said softly. Their ship is powered by a star. The room fell silent. Even for the mighty Zorath, this was a power beyond comprehension. Back on Earth, deep under the frozen continent, massive engines were awakening. Hidden hangars opened one by one, revealing 3 more colossal hulls. Not finished, but growing. The Eclipse was only the first. The engineers whispered their names through the tunnels. Supercarrier 02, the Horizon. Supercarrier 03, the Ark. And Supercarrier 04, the Leviathan. They weren't just building a ship. They were building an entire fleet. Admiral Holt walked the long observation deck, the stars stretching endlessly beyond the glass. Lieutenant Sarah Voss, his first officer, joined him. Do you think they'll attack again, sir? She asked. They will, he said calmly. Because fear makes fools brave. He looked down at the massive weapon core beneath his feet, glowing with the light of a captured sun. But this time we are not the prey. He tapped the console, sending a transmission to all hidden Terran outposts. This is Admiral Holt. Phase 2 begins. Shadow Protocol is lifted, the galaxy knows our name again, now we remind them of our history. Far beyond, in deep space, alien ships patrolled nervously near the rift. Then, their scanners picked up movement, faint, slow, and massive. Something else was coming. The comm officer whispered, Sir, it's another one. A long silence. Then the alarm blared across the ship. Another giant vessel, larger than the first, appeared from behind the stars. Its hull bore the mark, TSC Horizon. The galaxy thought there was one. They were wrong. In the council halls, leaders shouted in disbelief. How many do they have? What do they want? No answer came. Only another signal, short, direct, and cold. We remember the chains, we remember the fire. Now we remember our power. And with that, the transmission ended. In every shadow of every empire, fear grew again, because the humans had returned not as survivors, but as the storm. Across the vastness of the galaxy, a wave of panic was spreading. Empires that had dominated star systems for millennia suddenly felt a chill down their spines. The source of this fear? Reports of a Terran supercarrier named the Eclipse. And now, whispers of a second, the Horizon, were turning that fear into outright terror. This wasn't just a rumor, it was a reality that shattered centuries of galactic confidence. In the high command of the Zorath Dominion, the formidable Admiral Korath slammed his clawed hand on the central command table. They cannot be real, he roared, his voice echoing through the chamber. A single ship larger than our combined fleet, and now another. Impossible. His generals exchanged nervous glances. The evidence, however, was irrefutable. Earth, the long-lost cradle of humanity, had returned, and it was wielding power beyond their wildest comprehension. An emergency session of the Galactic Council was called. The greatest minds from every major empire, strategists, scientists, and warriors, gathered in a hall thick with tension. Even the stoic Xynar, usually unshakable, were heard whispering in the corridors. On the holographic table, star maps shimmered, displaying energy readings and the projected movements of this new Terran threat. One thing was terrifyingly clear. The humans were no longer hiding. They were watching, waiting, and ready. Chancellor Vrax of the Krell Syndicate stood to address the assembly. His voice was grim. Our fleets near the Orion Rift report not just one ship, but an entire supercarrier fleet under construction. Their power is growing at a rate our intelligence never predicted. We are not facing a mere weapon, esteemed colleagues. We are facing an awakened civilization. A ripple of fear swept through the hall. Some delegates trembled in disbelief, while others, like Korath, clenched their fists, refusing to show a hint of weakness. "Then we act," Korath declared, his voice cold as the void. "If we strike first, we might contain this threat. If we hesitate, we are doomed." Meanwhile, aboard the Eclipse, floating silently at the edge of the Orion Rift, Admiral Ryan Holt watched the distant stars gather on his viewport. He showed no fear, no urgency. Beside him, Lieutenant Sarah Voss broke the silence. "Sir, they're massing their fleets. They're going to attack. What's our plan?" Holt's gaze remained fixed on the cosmos. "They will attack," he said softly, "and they will fail. We don't fight for conquest, Lieutenant. We fight for survival, and we fight for those who cannot defend themselves." Days later, the attack came. A colossal armada, thousands of ships from the Zorath, Krell, and Zynar fleets, formed a wall of metal and fire blockading the rift. Their sensors scanned the emptiness of space but found nothing. The Terrans were gone. Or so it seemed. Then, the Eclipse uncloaked. One moment, there was nothing but the starfield. The next, a silhouette so immense it defied imagination blotted out the stars, casting a shadow over hundreds of ships at once. The alien fleets froze. A collective gasp echoed across their bridges. No one fired. No one dared to move. Fear was a far more powerful commander than any admiral. Holt's voice, calm and steady, broadcast across all galactic channels. "We are the Terran Supercarrier Eclipse. Withdraw immediately. No life needs to be lost today. You have been warned." Hesitation. Some of the smaller ships began to pull back. Others launched sensor probes, desperate for data. But the probes never returned. The Eclipse's revolutionary mirror shield simply reflected and scrambled every scan, every energy beam. Every attempt to understand the ship failed. Finally, Admiral Korath's patience snapped. "Prepare the fleet," he bellowed. "If they will not speak the language of diplomacy, they will understand the language of force." But the Eclipse didn't fire back. It didn't even move. Instead, a faint, almost undetectable pulse of energy radiated outwards. Most sensors dismissed it as cosmic background noise. Then, chaos erupted. Across the alien armada, systems began to fail. Engines sputtered and died. Weapon arrays powered down, communication channels filled with static. Panic spread faster than any torpedo. For the first time, the galactic powers understood a terrifying truth. They were facing something they could not possibly comprehend, let alone fight. Far away on oppressed colony worlds and hidden asteroid bases, slaves and rebels watched the events unfold on hidden networks. For centuries, they had told stories of the humans, mythical tales of a race that could survive anything. Now those whispers were becoming a roar of hope. "They remember us," a rebel captain told her crew, her eyes gleaming. "They fight not for conquest, but for justice." Back on the Eclipse, Holt calmly activated Project Dawn. Screens lit up with strategic overlays and complex weapon schematics. "Prepare the secondary launch bays," he ordered. "They want to test our patience. Let's show them why their ancestors feared us." Lieutenant Voss looked at him, her expression a mix of awe and disbelief. "Sir, the galaxy has never seen anything like this." A faint smile touched Holt's lips. "No," he replied. "Not like us." As night fell across the Orion Rift, the alien fleets held their blockade, a silent, tense standoff. But the humans didn't attack. The Eclipse just drifted, a predator watching its cornered prey. And in that heavy silence, the galaxy learned its most important lesson. Humanity doesn't fight because it wants to. It fights because it must. And when it does, nothing can stop it. The alien commanders whispered among themselves, their confidence shattered. "How many more ships do they have?" one asked. "No one knows," another replied, his voice barely a whisper. "But this is only the beginning." The galaxy was no longer theirs. Its fate would now be decided by humanity. For centuries, the galaxy had known the name of one Terran ship, the supercarrier Eclipse. It was a legend, a ghost that stopped fleets, silenced weapons, and froze entire empires in fear. But no one, not a single alien soul, knew the real power of humanity. Deep inside the Eclipse, Admiral Ryan Holt strode along the vast observation deck. Below him, hangar bays stretched for kilometers, cradling ships that no alien had ever imagined. "Prepare the drones," he ordered, his voice calm and steady. "Deploy the scouts," his lieutenant replied, her fingers dancing across a console. The crew moved like a well-oiled machine, silent, efficient, a testament to generations of discipline. No panic, no hesitation. Every Terran knew their role. Every Terran knew their history. For centuries, humans had survived only by working together. Now, that same unity was about to reshape the galaxy. Outside, a small alien fleet, arrogant and overconfident, tried to probe the Eclipse. They saw a lone ship, isolated and vulnerable. They were wrong. Terribly wrong. From hidden bays, hundreds of drone fighters poured out like shadows from a nightmare. They were sleek, black, and moved faster than the eye could follow, armed with weapons that rendered alien shields useless. One by one, they surgically disabled enemy engines. Shields flickered and died. Communications went silent. Within minutes, a fleet that had fancied itself powerful was left adrift. Helpless. "Admiral," Lieutenant Voss reported, her tone unwavering, "they're sending reinforcements." Holt didn't even flinch. A thin smile touched his lips. "Let them come. They will learn the cost of underestimating humanity." Across the galaxy, news of the silent destruction spread like wildfire. The mighty Zorath Dominion, the ruthless Krell Syndicate, even the ancient Zynar Empire watched in horror as their fleets were systematically annihilated without the humans even leaving their carrier. Whispers turned to shouts of disbelief across galactic channels. "It's not just a ship and it's a moving world. And they were right. Inside the Eclipse, a second wave of drones launched. Larger, more advanced, controlled by artificial intelligence perfected in secret over decades. Holt's next order echoed through the bridge. "Target hostile vessels only. Do not fire on civilians. Let them see the difference between war and justice." As the battle raged, some alien ships tried to flee. Others sent desperate pleas for peace. The Terran response was simple and terrifying. They deployed the mirror shield. Suddenly, enemy scans reflected back nothing but their own confusion. Weapons jammed. Alien commanders saw their fleets fall apart in chaos, fighting ghosts. Then a single transmission cut through the static, its calmness more chilling than any threat. "We warned you. You tested us anyway. This is the cost of forgetting humanity." On distant, oppressed worlds, hidden receivers picked up the message. Species crushed under the heel of empires for centuries watched in secret. They had never seen such courage, such power wielded with such precision. The humans became a symbol of hope. A young rebel whispered to his crew, "They fight for themselves. And for us. They remember the chains we could not break. And they are coming." Back in the Orion Rift, the Eclipse paused. Its guns fell silent. Its drones held their positions. Holt looked out at the star-dusted void, thinking of Earth. 2 centuries of hiding, surviving and building in secret, all for this moment. "We will not destroy the galaxy," he said softly, more to himself than anyone. "We will simply remind it of who we are." And then, it happened. From behind the colossal shadow of the Eclipse, another ship emerged. The Horizon. Even unfinished, it dwarfed entire alien armadas. Its hull shimmered with an energy that no scanner could measure. The galaxy thought humanity had 1 ship. Now they knew they had 2, with dozens more waiting. Holt broadcast a final warning. "We do not seek war, but if you test us again, you will learn the price of forgetting." Silence. Absolute silence fell across the stars, a silence born of awe and terror. Deep within the Eclipse, engineers prepared Project Dawn, a plan not just for defense but for liberation. A crew member whispered, her voice filled with a fierce pride. They thought we were gone. They were wrong. Holt smiled. Yes, he replied. They were very wrong. As the Eclipse and the Horizon held their silent vigil, one truth echoed across the cosmos. Humanity was no longer hiding. Humanity was rising. The galaxy was no longer silent. Whispers of the Terran supercarriers had spread to every star system, carrying a volatile mix of fear, awe, and hope. But for the great powers, fear quickly hardened into action. The Zorath Dominion, the Krell Syndicate, and the Zynar Empire could no longer afford to ignore the upstart humans. Their pride, their dominance, and their very survival demanded a preemptive strike. They gathered the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Thousands of warships, bristling with weapons, materialized around the Orion Rift. Their singular goal, to obliterate Earth's supercarriers before humanity could grow any stronger. On the bridge of the flagship Eclipse, Admiral Ryan Holt stood on the observation deck, his gaze fixed on the approaching storm of enemy fleets. Lieutenant Sarah Voss joined him, her face a mask of tension. "They're here," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Holt simply nodded, his eyes unnervingly calm, almost cold. "Yes? Let them come. They think they can crush us with sheer numbers. They are about to learn a very painful lesson." The void ignited. The first volleys of alien fire tore across the darkness. Searing plasma bolts and brilliant energy beams flared toward the lone human vessel. But the crew of the Eclipse didn't even flinch. Their revolutionary mirror shield activated, reflecting not light, but the enemy's own targeting data back at them. The effect was instantaneous chaos. Alien targeting systems malfunctioned, showing phantom targets and false readings. Ships, blind and confused, collided with their own allies. Simultaneously, swarms of Terran drones launched in precise, deadly waves, intercepting incoming missiles with flawless efficiency. The first assault, a hammer blow meant to shatter the Eclipse, failed completely. On the bridges of alien dreadnoughts, commanders stared in disbelief. A single Terran supercarrier had effortlessly neutralized hundreds of ships. Holt gave the order. "Fire the pulse cannons, a warning shot." Bright arcs of energy flashed silently through space, not to destroy, but to disable. A wide swath of the enemy fleet suddenly went dark as their engines and shields sputtered and died. The entire armada froze in a mixture of awe and terror. A single, clear message was broadcast from the Eclipse. "Stand down. You still have a chance. Retreat and live." No one listened. Pride is a hard thing to kill. And then, the trap was sprung. From the cover of nearby asteroid fields, two more colossal shadows emerged. The Horizon and the Leviathan, sister ships to the Eclipse, decloaked in perfect synchronicity. The alien fleets realized far too late that this wasn't a duel. It was an ambush. They weren't facing one supercarrier. They were facing an entire hidden armada. The battle descended into a maelstrom. Alien ships, once confident in their numbers, fell in minutes. Their raw power meant nothing against superior Terran tactics, hyper-advanced drones, and the cold, calculated intelligence of a species that had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. Back on Earth, billions watched the live transmissions. For the first time, humanity saw their protectors in action. In homes and public squares, children and elders, soldiers and civilians, all felt a powerful surge of pride. This was their fight. This was their survival. And this was proof that humanity was never, ever weak. Across the battlefield, Holt broadcast another message, this time intended for the entire galaxy. For centuries we hid. For centuries we endured. Humanity stands not for conquest, but for all those who have been silenced. Remember this day. We will never bow again. Panic began to ripple through the alien fleets. Even the most ruthless commanders hesitated. Some ships broke formation, attempting to flee. Others frantically transmitted messages of surrender. But Holt's forces fought with surgical precision, not blind anger. Every strike was calculated. Every maneuver was purposeful. Amid the chaos, a single Zorath flagship made a desperate, daring run, attempting to close the distance for a direct strike on the Eclipse. On the bridge, a young lieutenant reported, "Target locked, Admiral. Holt shook his head slightly. Let it come. Let them see why fear is a tool we learn to master. As the enemy ship drew near, a swarm of Terran drones descended upon it like metallic hornets. They didn't destroy it. They disabled it, cutting its engines, silencing its weapons, and leaving it to drift helplessly into the gravimetric currents of the rift. A message far more powerful than any explosion. One by one, the alien warships fell or fled. Hours passed, the galaxy holding its collective breath. By nightfall, the Terran victory was absolute. The first great coalition strike had been utterly broken. Holt looked out at the star-dusted void beyond the Eclipse. They thought our silence was weakness, he said quietly to Voss. They were wrong, very wrong. And across the Milky Way, on worlds crushed under the heel of empires, the oppressed and the enslaved began to whisper a new legend. The humans have returned. They fight for themselves. And for us. The first true battle of Project Dawn was over. Humanity had announced its strength to the cosmos, but the war had just begun. In the silence after the storm, a single, undeniable truth spread through the galaxy. Earth was no longer hiding. Earth was now leading, and the galaxy would never be the same. Thank you so much for watching this chapter of our story unfold. If you enjoyed this and want to see what happens next in humanity's fight for survival, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. The galaxy trembled, not with the roar of alien warships, but with the silence that followed their failed invasion. They had come for Earth, for humanity, with fleets that darkened the skies. They had failed. Their pride was shattered, their fleets crippled. And now, the humans were coming to take the fight to them. On the bridge of the flagship, the TSS Eclipse, Admiral Ryan Holt watched the star charts shift, painting a new map of the galaxy, one defined by human fleet movements. Beside him, Lieutenant Sarah Voss delivered the intel. Enemy strongholds detected, sir. The Zorath homeworld, the Krell capital, the Zynar command station, all within our reach. Holt nodded, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the momentous task ahead. We strike not to conquer, he said, his voice steady, echoing across the bridge. We strike to end the tyranny that once tried to destroy us. Prepare Phase 3. All fleets, deploy. In orbit above the Zorath homeworld, the combined Terran fleet materialized from hyperspace, a breathtaking assembly of power. The Eclipse, the Horizon, the Leviathan, and dozens of carriers filled the void. The alien defenses reacted instantly. Orbital cannons blazed to life. Fleets scrambled from their docks. Planetary shields flared with defiant energy. But the humans were ready. They hadn't just survived, they had learned. Swarms of drone fighters, moving with a terrifying perfect synchronicity, descended upon the orbital defenses, neutralizing them in minutes. Pulse cannons and long-range disruptors reached across the void, disabling enemy ships with surgical precision, all without a single human casualty. A horrifying realization dawned upon the alien commanders watching from their besieged worlds. Their empires were falling faster than they could react. Holt broadcast a message, calm and clear, across all frequencies. We do not seek to destroy worlds unnecessarily. Surrender. End this war. Let those who live be free. Defiance will cost you everything. But the Zorath chose defiance. Their flagship, a colossal dreadnought, turned and charged directly toward the Eclipse. Holt's crew braced for impact, but the Admiral gave an order that stunned them. Split energy output. Divert power to the drone interceptors. Main cannons target the dreadnought's exposed reactor conduits. It was a daring, almost reckless maneuver. While the drones formed an impenetrable screen, the Eclipse's main cannons fired. Beams of pure energy lanced through space, hitting their marks with unerring accuracy. Seconds later, the alien dreadnought erupted in a silent, blossoming fireball, leaving the enemy bridge crew stunned and hundreds of their vessels adrift and leaderless. Meanwhile, Terran pilots engaged the enemy with unmatched skill. They were more than just soldiers. They were the inheritors of centuries of survival, of human ingenuity, and they were united by a single purpose: to remind the galaxy why humanity should never, ever be underestimated. Yet Holt knew the terrible cost of war. Facing an overwhelming enemy fleet concentration, he made the most difficult decision of his life. He would personally detonate the reactor of a captured dreadnought to create a choke point and save his fleet. Walking into the control chamber alone, he transmitted a final, unwavering message. Humanity endures. We fight for those who cannot. Remember this, always. The explosion rocked the sector. Alien ships scattered in disarray. The dreadnought was gone, and so was Admiral Holt. The loss of their admiral sent a shockwave through the Terran fleet, but it was not a wave of despair. It was a wave of inspiration. On the bridge of the Eclipse, a solemn silence was broken by Voss. Her voice, filled with a new, unyielding resolve, rang out. Phase 3 continues. From every corner of the bridge, the crew responded as one. Yes, Admiral. Their unity was absolute. They fought harder, stronger, smarter. One by one, alien strongholds fell. The Krell Syndicate's capital crumbled under precise strikes. The Zynar command station collapsed after a perfectly calculated drone swarm disabled its shields. Entire fleets surrendered rather than face annihilation. On quiet worlds, long-oppressed species watched the celestial conflict with awe. For the first time in centuries, hope was real. The humans were not conquerors. They were liberators. Finally, the great empires of the galaxy were broken. In the silence that followed, the Terran fleet drifted among the stars, battered but victorious. Holt's sacrifice became a symbol, a testament to the fact that humanity had survived impossible odds. They had fought when others fled, and they had shown the galaxy that humanity would never bow again. As the Eclipse hovered over the wreckage, Voss looked out at the stars. Admiral Holt, we did it, she whispered. In the distance, a single message was transmitted across the galaxy, a final reminder. The galaxy once forgot us. It will never forget again. The galaxy fell silent. But this wasn't the silence of fear or defeat. It was the quiet of profound change. The great empires, the Zorath, the Krell, the Zynar, had fallen, their once mighty fleets now shattered relics drifting in the void. Their strongholds were gone, their pride broken. Above the cosmic graveyard, the Terran supercarriers drifted, Eclipse, Horizon, Leviathan, silent guardians of a new era. On the bridge of the Eclipse, Lieutenant Sarah Voss stood alone, the starfield reflected in her eyes. She stared into the endless dark, the cost of victory weighing heavily on her mind. Thousands of ships lost, countless lives altered forever, and the ultimate sacrifice of Admiral Orion Holt. His memory was a ghost that walked these halls. Yet, through the grief, a powerful sense of pride welled up. Humanity had not just survived. They had overcome what no one thought possible. They had risen from the ashes, stronger and more determined than ever. Across Earth, from bustling megacities to quiet rural towns, people were glued to the transmissions from the front lines. Children, elders, soldiers, and civilians watched in awe. They saw the faces of the men and women who had defended not just their planet, but the galaxy itself. Tears streamed down faces, but they were tears of relief and joy. Smiles broke across lips, wide and genuine. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood truly united, bound by a shared struggle and a common victory. The final words of Admiral Holt echoed through every system, broadcast on every channel. Humanity stands not for conquest, but for all who were silenced. And for the first time, the galaxy truly believed it. On distant, oppressed worlds, whispers turned into hopeful conversations. They remembered the chains, one being said to another. They remembered the fire. And they returned, stronger than any empire could imagine. Once, humanity had been dismissed as weak, underestimated, a minor species on the galactic stage. Now, the name human was a legend, spoken with a mixture of fear and profound respect across the stars. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the work never stopped. Engineers and scientists toiled tirelessly. The fleet was growing. New supercarriers, faster, stronger, and more advanced than their predecessors, were already in their final stages of construction. Project Dawn was no longer a desperate plan for survival. It was a legacy being forged in steel and fire. A new era for all of humanity had begun, built on the foundations of sacrifice and resilience. Back in orbit, Voss looked at the battle-scarred hull of the Eclipse. She placed a hand on the cool metal of the command console, her voice a soft whisper in the quiet bridge. "We will honor you, Admiral Holt. Your sacrifice will guide us. Humanity will endure." As if in response, a faint pulse of light radiated from the ship's core, a silent signal sent out to the galaxy. "We are here. We will protect. We will endure. We are humanity." That day, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. From the shadows, ships of freedom, small colonies and allied species began to emerge. They had witnessed humanity's unyielding spirit, and now they had hope. Earth had returned, not just as a planet, but as an undeniable force for good in the galaxy. In the quiet of orbit, a young cadet, fresh from the academy, stood before the monumental form of the Eclipse. He looked out at the same stars that Voss had, and a determined whisper escaped his lips. "They thought we were gone. They were wrong." Above him, the supercarriers gleamed in the darkness, guardians of a new dawn. A promise etched into the cosmos that humanity would always rise, no matter the odds. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had returned, and humanity would never bow again. Thank you so much for watching this journey into the dawn of a new human era. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button, subscribe for more epic tales, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep looking to the stars. The great galactic empires, the ones that once held the stars in an iron grip, are nothing more than dust and memory. From the ashes of their tyranny, a new hope has emerged. Worlds that knew only oppression now turn their gaze to a small blue planet, a beacon called Earth. We won, but victory is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning. Our Terran supercarriers, marvels of engineering and might, patrol the space lanes. They are a symbol of our strength, but the galaxy is a vast and dark ocean, and we know, deep in our bones, that monsters still lurk in its depths. On the bridge of the supercarrier Eclipse, Lieutenant Sarah Voss stands watch. The stars blur past, but it's the ghosts on her sensors that hold her attention. Strange signals, flickering like distant fireflies. Unidentified ships moving with silent purpose through the void. "They're not Zorath," she murmurs, her voice a low hum in the quiet of the bridge. "Not Krell, and definitely not Zynar. The old enemies are gone, but the galaxy has a long memory and new players are entering the game." Admiral Holt's words echo in her mind, a legacy of vigilance. "Prepare the fleet," she says, her voice soft but laced with steel. "Humanity can never be caught off guard again." Back on Earth, the heart of our new civilization beats strong. Shipyards glow day and night as engineers work with feverish intensity. They're not just rebuilding, they're innovating. New carriers, faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the galaxy has ever seen, are taking shape. On holographic displays, star maps shift and reform. Alien worlds, potential threats, and uncharted territories ripe for discovery. Humanity is no longer just defending its home. We are charting the future of the galaxy itself. But we are not alone in our observations. Far out, in the shadowed expanse of the outer rim, ancient eyes watch our meteoric rise. Aboard a warship sleek and vast beyond comprehension, a shadowed figure whispers to its council. They have risen too quickly. Their power is unexpected. If these humans unlock the full secrets of the rift, none of us will survive. Unseen by us, the first whispers of new alliances and new enmities are carried on the solar winds. The galaxy is choosing sides. Yet, amidst this tension, there is celebration. In orbit around a newly liberated world, the sky is filled with human ships. The Eclipse and her sister carriers glide like majestic titans, a promise of protection. Below, the people cheer, their voices rising to the heavens. Our cadets train in the beautiful ballet of zero gravity. Pilots hone their skills in breathtaking simulations, and our diplomats extend the hand of friendship to new allies. We've learned the hardest lesson of all, that true strength isn't just about firepower. It's about strategy, unity, and trust. Walking the observation deck of the Eclipse, Voss addresses her crew, her gaze fixed on the endless sea of stars. Every empire we've faced has fallen, she says, her voice resonating with pride and caution. But the galaxy is still full of shadows. We must be ready, not just to fight but to protect, to lead, to endure. A young cadet, their eyes wide with awe and a touch of fear, looks up at her. "Lieutenant, do you think we can really keep the galaxy safe?" A faint, knowing smile touches Voss's lips. "We survived extinction. We survived hiding in the dark. We survived betrayal from those we trusted. If humanity can do all that, we can do anything." As the Eclipse pushes deeper into the mysterious Orion Rift, something changes. The very fabric of space ahead seems to shimmer, to warp. A faint energy signature pulses in the distance, massive, unknown, and undeniably alive. The fleet slows, a silent behemoth holding its breath. Sensors scramble, trying to make sense of the signal, but it's like nothing we've ever encountered. On the bridge, every eye is glued to the main view screen. We have fought the known galaxy and won. But this is something new. Voss steps forward, her posture unwavering. She activates the fleet-wide comms, and her voice rings out, steady and clear. "All hands prepare for the unknown. This is humanity's future, and we will face it, together." The galaxy watches, waiting. The balance of power has shifted, but the true horizon is still ahead of us. A horizon filled with new mysteries, new threats, and the birth of new legends. And from the bridge of the Eclipse, a single, unifying thought burns in every Terran heart. The galaxy may have once feared us, but soon it will learn to respect humanity, forever. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update from the frontier. Until next time, stay curious.